Welcome to Sports and Courts. Today I am here with Hannah Valente, who is a law student at Elon Law and is now a certified NBA, WNBA, and FIBA player agent. First of all, congrats, such a huge accomplishment, and I'm so excited to see you thrive as a sports agent. How are you feeling?
I'm feeling good. I'm feeling grateful and thankful for the past couple of months. But I'm also anxious to kind of get started and to jump in. Also keeping in mind that I'm still in school. I still have to finish this trimester, and also next half of the year. But I am really excited. Everything I've wanted to accomplish this past year, I've been able to do. So obviously that's excited, but I just am very, very anxious to kind of jump in and start to kind of put these certifications to work.
Yeah, so I guess my first question would be, have you always wanted to be a sports agent? Like, is this something you've always dreamed of? Did you go into law school knowing you'd do this? Because I know law school is a route that many aspiring sports agents do take.
So I've always wanted to be an attorney. And as I was growing up, it was various different specialties. Like at first, I definitely wanted to be an environmental attorney. I was obsessed with marine biology and wanted to save the whales and save the dolphins. And I thought that was like the coolest thing ever. And a very obsessive personality. So that was kind of it for me. And then actually, I wanted to be a canon lawyer. And I wanted to work for sorry, if I work in the background. I wanted to be a canon lawyer. I studied theology in undergrad, and I thought that was the route I was going to take. But once I discovered what a sports agent was, and then kind of the combination of how a lawyer and a sports attorney / agent, what that means, as soon as I guess my freshman year, probably senior year of high school more is when I first learned about that job. That was kind of it for me. I was like, okay, like what do I have to do this? And it kind of just all worked out because I already planned. Basically, when I was super young, I was going to go right to law school. So it kind of all fell into place. And then I just started to kind of take advantage of more sports opportunities, sports law oriented, but it did originally start my freshman year of undergrad at Providence College when I managed the basketball team. And just kind of discover this whole other side of basketball that had nothing to do with basketball. It was all the business side, the player relationship side, and ultimately playing professionally, whether that's overseas or in the NBA, and the intricacies that deal with that. And ever since I learned about the role and really got to talk to more sports agents, it only convinced me that this is exactly the position I want to do. So I did come into law school with that mindset and with that kind of laser focus. And a lot of my advisors and a couple of my teachers wanted me to kind of cast the nets out a little wider. But I'm really fortunate that I kind of stuck to that, because I don't think I'd be able to take the NBA exam and then get the other certifications if I wasn't so laser focused. So I am grateful that I kind of just honed in on what I wanted to do, because I know a lot of people in law school have no idea, but I'm fortunate enough that I've kind of found a career and I fell in love with, and I've just kind of been taking the steps along the way to get to that goal.
Yeah, and your obsessive personality clearly helped, because here you are certified in law school. So, as a law student myself, I know that the workload and the time commitment to be a law student is so much. So how did you even juggle studying for this agency exam while keeping up with law school? Like, what was that process like?
So throughout my entire life, I've always been on a very strict schedule, whether it was going to practices, whether it was going to meetings. I've always just had so much structure, and I continued to have that structure in undergrad. When I was a manager, I still had a playing set schedule. So I continued to have this schedule. So naturally, when I came to law school, I just continued as much as I can to schedule out every single day. I did that practice all throughout 1L, continued to do that during my 2L year. And then as I began to study for the NBA exam, I started studying for it in November. I basically just scheduled out different chunks of time where I knew that I wouldn't be focused on law school. I wouldn't be focused on anything else, where I can just give my full undivided attention to just studying and doing practice questions. And then I basically became a little bit of a hermit and just took I would say 3 months of just like weekends were for NBA studying. And I didn't really interact with my friends much. Just kind of like, I just wanted to go fully in because I didn't want to have to take the exam again. So looking back on it now, I think I might have went a little overboard and might have overstudied, but I certainly think it's better to overstudy and be over prepared. And when I took the exam, like I walked into it, I took it at home, but I logged in feeling super confident. But it did take just kind of like that crazy amount of scheduling everything. And I think that's just the key to success. At least it's worked for me, is you have to schedule like down to the hour. And I know I'll continue to do that looking like toward next year when I take the bar exam. Scheduling is just the key, I think, to success.
Yeah. So then for law students who have, or just students in general who have their eyes set on being a sports agent, would you recommend your journey to another student in trying to get this agency exam done in law school rather than after, so that you can separate bar exam prep from the agency exam prep?
Absolutely. And there's a couple things that I wish I knew a couple months ago that I know now. First and foremost, it is a very expensive investment. Just to apply to take the exam itself is $1,500. And then if you ultimately pass, you're paying NBA dues, which are, even if you don't have a single client, which I don't have a single client right now, up to 10 clients, you're paying $2,500 a year to the NBPA for your annual dues. And then, since I wasn't just happy with NBA, I wanted the FIBA certification, I wanted the WNBA certification, and those are all a couple $1,000s total. So knowing that you're going to be spending a lot of money, it was a conversation I had with my parents, and I kind of sat down and like I basically phrased it as, this is an investment in my future. Like I need to get this kind of step done, so I'll be able to obtain a job that I wouldn't otherwise be able to get if I didn't have these certifications. So first and foremost, knowing that it's going to be extremely expensive. Secondly, I would say there's so much that you learn through practical experience, working with a sports agent, working with a sports agency, or just talking to sports agents. I think a lot of the appeal of wanting to be a sports agent or wanting to work in sports is the glamour and the access that you get. And I think that people who work in the industry or have experience at any level, whether it's college or professional, you know that it's the complete opposite, that you're doing all the jobs that are not glamorous, that no one sees. It's a thankless job, a lot of it. But I've had a lot of experiences like that where I understand that it's not glamorous, it's not exciting, but it needs to get done. And I think that's so much of a role of an agent is a thankless job, and you're not, you're doing all this for your client, you're not really getting any of the credit for it. And that's not why you're in it. You're in it because you want to help the athletes and you want to have the best opportunities. And I would say the third thing I think is so important in this industry is you need to kind of start thinking about who you're going to be representing, and start kind of right now with NIL. You can start talking to high school students, you can start talking to college students. Like you don't have to necessarily think of being a sports agent at that professional level right away. You can start building relationships with NIL as early as high school, as some states are allowing it. And I have one more thing too, as I'm thinking about it now, just staying current with everything that's going on. Every day there's different laws and legislations with professional sports, but especially with college sports. So if you're interested in this industry, it's so important to kind of stay up to date and know what's going on. So when you're talking to people who are in the industry and they bring up exactly what's happening right now, you don't necessarily have to have a solution or an answer, but you can at least have a conversation, because truthfully, even the experts don't really know the answer with different NIL topics and pay for play. So just staying current, it can be overwhelming at times, especially when you're reading through legislation where you're like, what does this mean? And how does it relate? And I can't imagine how the college athletes must feel when they're reading this, like, what can I do? What can I do? But just staying current in sports law, because it's ever changing, is really, really, really important.
Yeah, so just going off of that, you mentioned talking about people in the industry. In the sports industry, we hear constantly, networking is key, networking is key. How has that impacted your success today? Did you network? Was that a part of your story? How do you do it? These are all questions I feel like a lot of law students have, where it's like, you have to network, but we don't really know how. So what was your process with that?
Yeah, definitely. I personally like don't like to think is like networking is just networking. I think of it as like truly like relationship building and like building like a friendship almost of a common ground. Like I've gotten a few opportunities, for example, based off a lot of people that went to Providence College where I went, like knowing that I'm interested in working in pro sports and having that ultimate like basketball connection, like whether they're a basketball fan or they're a lawyer, or they have some kind of connection to Providence basketball, has been just kind of that stepping stone to just have that initial conversation. Because I think a lot of the hesitation toward just reaching out to someone like cold emailing or cold messaging on LinkedIn is you're not going to have like that initial like, okay, this person went to Providence, I'm going to respond. And obviously sometimes that's hard to find, but if you kind of start there and then expand through there, I've been able to attend sports agent seminars in Rhode Island through a couple PC connections, and then also just kind of reaching out to when you are networking and they're saying, okay, like I think you should talk to so and so, actually following up with that person that they're suggesting, and then also knowing that this relationship building isn't just a one-time thing. It's not a one-off conversation. You continually need to update your network, and especially when you're in law school or in college, it's so important to send kind of, I would say, maybe every couple months or so, or something really big happens, to update those people in your immediate network, because they actually do care. They want to help you, and just not to be afraid. Like, for example, this summer, I'm interning at MetLife Stadium with their general counsel, and I've been kind of reaching out to this. He's a PC alum. I've been reaching out to him and kind of emailing him and going back and forth since my sophomore year of college. And we met once and just continued to kind of email, message on LinkedIn. And I'm really, really fortunate to be working there this summer with him. He hasn't had interns in a really long time because COVID and other situations. So just knowing that it's a continual process, and you kind of have to, like any relationship, you have to work at it. But I truly, truly believe that like all the successes that I've achieved in like sports law have been through people like willing to help me and willing to connect me to the next person, and just kind of continue that as well. And I also would be remiss if I didn't mention Dan Luss with Conduct Detrimental. He's been such an incredible mentor, and such a great guide to navigate this industry. Obviously, as you know, and as students who want to enter this industry know, it's a non-traditional sports or non-traditional law area. So to have someone like Dan, who is kind of serving as a guide to all sports law enthusiasts and all sports law students, has really just been a great opportunity. He's introduced me to so many people. He's kind of opened my eyes, really challenged me to kind of branch out more. And I'm really fortunate to have him. And I know that he is more than willing to help anyone, whether there's any kind of connection there. Just being a sports law enthusiast is really all you need to kind of start that initial conversation.
Yeah, you knew my next question. It was who you owe credit to. So Dan Lust is one, and you are a contributing writer to Conduct Detrimental, right?
Yes. So if you go on the Conduct Detrimental website, you look up the breaking news tab. I update those. We update them every day, and they're just breaking news stories. I have written a couple of articles in the past, but since I transitioned into this new role, it's kind of taken up most of my time. But for those listening, if you want to reach out to the Conduct socials, if you want to write for Conduct, you're more than welcome. It's an open forum for law students, for lawyers, even if you're not in law school and you just have an interest in sports law, it's open. And I'm really fortunate. I've just started working for Conduct like 6 months ago, but I've been talking to Dan for almost a year now, and he's been such an incredible asset. The whole Conduct team, honestly, just having like-minded individuals and seeing like 3Ls graduate into first-year associates, and seeing what they're doing in sports law is even a better experience, because they're like obviously can relate to those in law school. They just graduated, they just took the bar, and they're sports lawyers right now. So it's really cool to see their experiences as well as they unfold.
So to the people watching, Conduct Detrimental.
Yes, got a plug.
So aside from being a certified player agent, what are some things you do outside of law school? Guilty pleasures, hobbies, something the average person wouldn't know. We're getting a sneak peek into Hannah right now.
Absolutely. So I love reality TV. I just finished watching Bling Empire.
I love that show.
Absolutely love it. I just was watching The Circle earlier. Any kind of bad reality TV show that Netflix puts out, or the CW, or literally anything. I spend most of my time when I'm not doing law school stuff, watching reality TV. I love to run. I just did another half marathon 2 weekends ago. Running keeps me a little balanced. But yeah, I always used to joke and say running and reality TV are my two pastimes.
R&R, we love that. One show that I will recommend, it's a reality TV show, Selling Sunset.
Oh yeah, I love Selling Sunset.
It's a must. Okay, so that's nice. Running and reality. That's a new one. Haven't really heard that one.
Keeps me grounded.
And I guess just my last question is, what are the next steps for Hannah Valente? What's your next chapter looking like? You just got certified, you're about to graduate. What are your aspirations as to what's going on into this upcoming year going into 2023?
So that's a great question. That's something that I've been thinking about a lot. When I first passed my agency exam, I got 2 job offers within the first week, and I came to law school right from undergrad. Obviously, undergrad right after high school. So I've just been in this education mindset. So for me to get 2 job offers, I was like, oh my goodness, this is my first big girl job offer. What do I do? Do I take it? I remember talking to my parents about it, talking to Dan about it. And there was a part of me that really wanted to accept either one, and start to kind of work and dive into the industry, and still try to maintain a full course load. But ultimately I decided to not accept either one and just kind of wait, and focus on passing the bar exam, graduating, B, passing the bar exam. I actually graduate in December. All of my Elon class does, take the bar in February. So ideally my goal would be to work at a big agency for a couple years. I would love to move back home to New Jersey, New York, but I'm open to moving to LA, moving to California. I'm open to move anywhere where the job takes me, wherever that may be. I really have an interest in living overseas as well. So I'll kind of go wherever. But that's my goal. And then my secondary goal would be ultimately to open my own agency and focus on representing female athletics and hiring as many female executives as possible. That's kind of the ultimate goal, to be in a position where I could be able to kind of really change how females are represented and how females represent other females in the sports industry. That would be an ultimate goal, dream of mine, is to kind of really change the landscape of female leadership in agencies and in athletics in general.
Well, I'm so excited for everything that you're about to do and accomplish. I hope this year is amazing for you. Definitely will keep in touch. And I'm just excited to see you do what you do. Clearly, you're ready for it. And I think the whole world's ready for it. So, but yeah, this is my first episode of Sports in Court. So thank you so much for joining me. And yeah, that's it. Thank you, everyone.
Thanks for having me on, and just excited for your future as well.
Thank you.